Good Friday! Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever you may be listening. Thanks for making me part of your day. It is always appreciated. This is episode 234 of the Ranting Weight Watcher podcast. I got a packed show for you today, but first I have an announcement to make. If you are out there and you are considering starting a healthy lifestyle, trying to find a way to begin your health weight loss journey, right now is a perfect time to join Weight Watchers. There is a 60% off discount, and the sale is still going on as of right now. So if there's ever a time to save some money and join a club like WW, this would be the time to do it. There is one catch, and I'm going to tell you that now, and that is a 10-month commitment is required. And so basically, you're giving yourself 10 months with 60% discount for that 10 months to try and create some results. It's a good method because so many people, they don't make it past the first month or two because they don't see enough results. In their mind, there hasn't been enough results to continue. They get frustrated, they quit. So many people start on January 1st and they don't even make it out of January because that's how quickly in their head they think they're supposed to get these results. But really, undoing everything you've created your entire life takes a lot longer than just a few weeks' time. It takes a whole... Look, I'm 6 years in and I'm still in the fight. I'm not at the end. I'm not where I want to be. I'm fighting for what I want still 6 years later. Am I a different person today than I was on the day that I started? Of course I am. Have I created some results in the process of all that? Of course I have. But the reason I created the results isn't because of just simply following a plan. The reason I created the results is because I decided to change who I am, because who I used to be is not conducive of who I want to be. So many people don't make that transition, but it is definitely something that is necessary if you're ever going to get to where you want to be. Now, with that being said, if you guys join and you're looking for a good place to spend your Saturday morning, come and join Coach Sophie F's workshop. You'll find me there every Saturday morning. It is my favorite workshop of the week, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Again, Coach Sophie F, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. It is filled with a bunch of people who definitely have been putting the work in. I mean, I didn't know them when I first started all this, and I could see that I have grown to know them, and they are a group of people that I'm proud to be a part of. So if that's something you're looking for, Coach Sophie F, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, Saturday mornings. She has other days too. You can look at her account on WW app, and you can see all of her workshop times, but that's the one you'll find me in. Now, let's not waste any more time. Let's get into this! Journey update. So weigh-in this week was May 24th, 2025. My current weight is 220.4 pounds. That is a loss of 2.2 pounds. Total pounds remaining to get my 200-pound milestone is 24.8 pounds. My work stats are going from May 18th to May 24th. Total steps taken in that time period is 79,032. That's an average steps per day of 11,290 steps. Total miles walked is 34 miles. It's an average steps per day of 4.8 miles. So today, as we speak, I am currently, I believe that I'm currently fasting for the 5th time. So water only fast 1 day a week. This is the 5th week in a row that I am doing it. And basically it's 7 p.m. as I'm recording this on Wednesday, May 28th. So we can say that um, I'm willing to step out on a limb and say I'm upstairs for the night. And so this 5th week in a row has been a success. Although I can't say the last 5 weeks haven't come without struggle. I haven't really reported on it. I reported on it the first couple of weeks, but the first couple of weeks were really easy compared to now, right? It actually has progressively gotten harder to do a water-only fast once a week as the weeks have gone by. Today came with its own struggle. I mean, the biggest struggle comes with the headaches, right? You get headaches from me particularly, I get headaches because it is caffeine withdrawal for sure. I am not drinking any coffee, black or not. I'm just drinking water only. So I definitely have headaches come on the day that I fast. I was expecting it. This is not a surprise to me. So it's all part of the journey, right? But it has definitely come with its struggles. I've been, constantly thinking, like, these thoughts come in your head. And it's like, why are we really doing this again? What's the point of this? And to think that it will have to become 2 days at some point, it just becomes much more taxing and stressful to get through the 24 hours, right? Now, I'll tell you that the overwhelming majority of the challenges I have faced have been mental. Besides the headaches and besides the feeling tired, these are the only physical struggles I've had. Feeling tired and having headaches. I could honestly tell you I have not felt a single hunger pain in any time I fasted over the past 5 weeks. I don't know that I know what a hunger pain really feels like anymore because, you eat so regularly that people say I'm hungry. Really, it's more mental than anything else. But yeah, that has been my struggle physically with headaches, fatigue. But everything else has been mental, for sure. And questioning why am I doing this? The whole reason I started this was to have to be practiced in this, because if I ever received a particular diagnosis that just one of those dangerous ones, one of the big ones up there. There are so much evidence that is out there that helps people that get particular diagnoses, that fasting, a water-only fast can help the scenario, starting with a water-only fast. And the recommendation is at minimum 3 days, and depending on what the ailment is or what the disease is, can be anywhere up to 10 days. So my original plan was to, like I do everything else, slowly over time to get to, eventually be able to say I did a 10-day fast over time. But knowing that I'm going to add a second day makes me question everything. A part of me wants to just push it to 3 days and forget about the whole buildup, and then make 3 days maybe a once a month thing or a once every other month thing where it's guaranteed to be 3 days, so that I don't lose the practice of doing that. And then going for the 10-day, if I ever do receive a diagnosis like that. But to regularly be able to do a 3-day water fast, the biggest benefit of it is going to be resetting the immune system, resetting the gut and microbiome, and just being able to live a healthier life in general, right? So this is, there are many spiritual aspects that come from fasting. I'm not really taking advantage of any of those, to be honest with you. That's not why this started, right? I'm not saying that I'll never do that. I'm saying that this time it didn't start for that reason. But it has definitely become more and more of a struggle as the weeks go by. And I could definitely feel like there is a mental case building to don't keep this going slowly. Just get to 3 days as quickly as possible and then maintain the 3 days until there is a situation where you need a 10-day. I'm not really sure. But what I can honestly tell you is I really thought I knew what commitment meant. 6 years in, I made all these changes in my life. I could say that I knew what commitment meant. But when you add the mental struggle that comes from this, it made me understand commitment at a completely different level. And I can honestly tell you, you can't go halfway into anything, right? Out of anything I've ever done, you really can't go halfway. You got to go all the way in, and you got to be committed. And including these fasts. These fasts have taken a toll on anything. Literally anything I ever believed about commitment is being tested week after week here. And it is, I guess it's not something, I mean, I knew that this would be a struggle. Let's not go crazy here. But the realizations or whatever of what has come so far. And the crazy idea of never actually feeling any hunger pain. Now, maybe when I add a second day here or when I go for 3 days, maybe I'll understand what hunger feels like at that point. But 24 hours or 36 hours for that matter, I do not feel hungry. It is all up here. The one thing I do feel is how badly I want a cup of coffee. And how badly how tired or, fatigued I feel. And the energy boost that comes from eating is real. Tomorrow morning when I go to eat breakfast, the energy boost that comes from eating breakfast when I break fast, man, it's real. It's a real energy boost. Again, everything I ever believed about commitment is being tested now, for sure. But I can honestly tell you that commitment is required from the beginning. Absolute commitment. Recently, a story from the Bible had come to mind. And it's the story of Lot's wife. And it may sound really random, but I promise you, all of this will work out. Lot's wife, I mean, it's funny because I've heard the story, I can't tell you how many hundreds of times since I'm a kid. I mean, I grew up in the church. And I heard the story of Lot's wife many times. And I only just realizing that Lot's wife doesn't have a name in the Bible anywhere. She's just Lot's wife. I mean, it's probably not there because it wasn't really important. I don't know. I can't tell you why. But the story of Lot's wife comes at a time where the city that her husband, Lot, right? So Lot, his wife, and his 2 daughters are living in a city called Sodom and Gomorrah. And the reputation of that city is pretty legendary. Okay? If you have studied the Bible at all, you know how legendary. And I'm not really going to get into. This is all about just summarizing here. I'm not really going to get into it. And I'm giving you from my memory. Okay? And the crazy thing about Sodom and Gomorrah is if you compare the legend of Sodom and Gomorrah to 2025, I would say that it's not much different at all. Not much different. The climate or the reputation is just as bad now as it was then. Matter of fact, I would say that it's even worse now. It's even worse now because of technology. Technology, the internet, computers, cell phones, has made it more convenient to be 100 times, 1,000 times, 1,000,000 times more, or 1,000,000 times worse than that city was. And if you look around the world right now, there are plenty of entire countries you could compare to this one city. So the reputation of this city starts to take its toll on Lot's family. And being a godly family, they found themselves becoming influenced by the city they lived in. And that's when two angels show up. They show up with a message for Lot's family. And essentially, in a nutshell, they tell them, take your kids, take their, they both had a promise of a spouse to be, right? So take your kids, take your future son-in-laws, and take your wife and get out of here. Go into the mountains and get away from this place. Essentially, this city has been marked by God for demolition. I'll just say it like that. So right away, Lot, being the man of God he was, takes his family, gets them all prepared to get going. Now the sons-in-laws, or the future son-in-laws, they didn't buy in to the message. So they didn't go. So essentially, it was Lot, his wife, and his kids. And they make their way up into this town it's a small town up at the top of this mountain. And it is at this point that Sodom and Gomorrah starts to become destroyed. Now, when they were told by the angels to leave, they were told to leave and don't look back. Get out of here and don't look back. So when when God's judgment started to come upon the city and it was being destroyed, Lot's wife happens to look back. And she must have looked back with like a longing, right? Because in her heart, she didn't want to leave. And it is in this moment that, because she turns and looks back longingly, she turns to a pillar of salt. That's the story. Now, I've heard this story hundreds of times. And the one thing I could say to sum it all up is, her story is in the Bible to teach us of the importance of obedience to when God's instruction comes, to have faith that all things are going to be taken care of when you're following God's instruction, and the importance of having a commitment to God to follow those instructions. The commitment is what stands out to me. the amount of commitment it took for Lot to pick up his family and take them to this other town, when essentially you have two angels that didn't show up as angels. They showed up as people, like travelers. So you have essentially what looks like two men show up, tell them they have to leave. It takes a lot of faith and a lot of commitment to your relationship with God to have two strangers show up and tell you what needs to be done. And then you follow through and do it. Now, a bunch of you are thinking, Don, why are we listening to this? Why have we spent the last 20 minutes talking about this story? What does this have to do with me trying to lose weight? So many of us are on weight loss journeys. But the number of people, so the ratio, the number of people that can say I'm part of a weight loss program or I'm doing something to become healthy versus the people that are actually committed. They have set forth a commitment to follow through. Those numbers are astronomically different. And I started all this with telling you about how you can't go halfway in. Is that not what Lot's wife did? She left, but left reluctantly. Obviously, because she looked back longingly. If we are not fully committed to what we're trying to do, what results are we actually going to create? Let's think about that for a minute. We tell the world that we're trying to become healthy. We tell anyone who will listen, I'm getting healthy, I'm going to lose weight. While we look back and we never actually change the behaviors or the foods that put us into the position to need a healthy lifestyle. We attempt to live a new life with all of our old habits and all of our old rituals. We attempt to live a new life doing everything essentially the same. We listen to messages that tickle our ears. You can eat what you love and still lose weight. And then we find ourselves talking to people that we have close to us. And we're desperately trying to figure out, why are we struggling so much? The idea that you bought in to bringing your old life into your new life, not actually changing, not actually evolving, but living with the habits and rituals from your old life, living with the things that created your problem. You've bought so much into it that when you're sitting there desperately trying to figure it out, you can't even see it. It's like you're blind. You're absolutely blind to seeing this is the key to all of your progress. We shout in workshops for everyone to hear. You'll say things like, I'll do anything it takes to get to my goals. And then the minute someone like me opens my mouth and talks about sacrificing what is holding you back, then you get answers like, oh, I can't do that. If I give that up, I know I'll just binge. So you come up with this compromised methods where you try to live with the old life and create a new life at the same time. And essentially, in the end, over and over and over again, the old life wins because no changes are made. And each time the old life wins, you see something in you is wrong. Why can't I just stick to this? Why can't I do it? And instead of seeing the obvious for what it is, that the old habits, the old rituals, the old foods, the old coping mechanisms, all of those things need to end in order to have what you say you want. You have totally looked over that. And you have compromised every step of the way. I'll do this so long as it doesn't make me too uncomfortable. I'll try and do that. But you know me. I use food to cope. A perfect example of what I want to use here. I mean, protein seems to be the buzzword of the last, 5 years? Eat your protein, eat your protein, eat your protein. It's a buzzword. So the marketing of all of the processed food companies took advantage of this, and they started to look for a legal way to put the word protein on their food products. And they created them. They created the bars. They created the shakes. They created the pancakes, Pop-Tarts, and whatever else. And they added something just so they can put the word protein on the box. So when someone tells you, whether it's a nutritionist or whatever it is, you got to eat your protein. You got to get more protein in. Protein satiates you. Your answer, or I should say, your actions tell us everything. Because the actions are, I can introduce more protein, but I'm not going to get rid of these things in order to do that. So how do I introduce protein without sacrificing what I love to eat? And what's the easy answer to not sacrificing and finding low-pointed, low-calorie protein supplements? You go with your shake. You go with your bar. You go with your pancakes. Oatmeal. They got protein oatmeal now. No one ever starts with, I'm going to add steak to my life. No one ever starts with, I'm going to add pork chops, chicken, literally any freaking meat in the world. No, you start with a shake. A shake that you believe to be healthy because of really good marketing. Really good marketing. The shake, the protein shake, the protein bar, the protein chips, the protein pancakes, the protein Pop-Tarts, all still processed food. All still laboratory experiments. I don't care how natural they claim to be. If you can't go pick in nature, if you can't go pick it up, some protein powder to make a protein shake, you shouldn't be eating it. I mean, this is not news from me. You heard countless episodes how I tell you guys to eat. If it grew out of the ground, eat it. If it's the meat of an animal, eat it. If it came from the animal, eat it. Anything else, make it yourself or don't eat it. If you want bread that bad, make it yourself. Stop buying laboratory experiments. The benefit that comes from eating extra protein will never come from shakes, bars, etc. It will never come. However satiated you think these things make you, it's more mental than it is physical. Because the struggles that you have are still present. I used to eat 7 times a day. Small meals. And the real reason I did that was because of how I was eating. It naturally occurred. And it took a transition to introduce real protein into my life. It took a transition like that to make me understand what satiety really was. I try to make you all realize the importance of all this. How you start your day is going to be mirrored. How you end your day is going to be mirrored by how you start your day. I used to eat a protein bar. Now, this was before. So it was, I want to say it was like year 4. It was prior to my diagnosis that caused me to really radically change everything. I had read Christine's book and I was trying to bring up protein. And I was eating a protein bar. And it got to a point where I realized, remember how I told you guys that I was eating all of those WW snacks, like the granola bars, and I could never seem to just eat one? The same thing happened with this protein bar. I bought this protein bar because it had a high fat content. It was like one of those protein bars that someone on keto would eat. I was buying them, and they were literally 400-calorie protein bars. 400 calories. And there was a time that I realized I was going for 2 a day. I was eating 2 a day. I would literally finish one, 450 calories, and open the next one without hesitation. They had just as much of a hold as all of the other snacky foods in the planet. I craved more. I wasn't satisfied. I craved more. It took this diagnosis to radically change everything, and the essentially finishing off the elimination of processed food in my life. At that point, I was committed. I was committed committed to my health in more ways than just weight loss. I had made there are so many things that before I got that diagnosis, there were already so many things I had given up in the process because I knew they were hindering my journey. So many things. And so I gave them up without hesitation. I did it over time, and I eventually let go of them. So getting that diagnosis and seeing that I needed even more radical change. Again, I was that committed, and it was like, well, what's the point? We came this far. We gave up this much. Why are we stopping now? What's the point? Let's keep it going. Let's put it all in. All the chips in the center of the table. That's what I did. You see, Lot and his daughters, they went all in. They were ready to make the change in that moment. They were committed. But the future son-in-laws and Lot's wife, not committed. In the end, their actions spoke louder than their words. And in the end, your actions speak louder than your words. I really hope you grasp what I'm trying to get at here. And I hope that you understand I don't expect you to make these changes all at once. But there has to be, up here, there has to be a plan in the distant future to completely rid yourself of processed food, to completely rid yourself of anything that is not real food. We have been given a load of bullshit of things that are supposedly real food. They are so far from real food. This is why we keep the struggles that we have. And you'll find if you actually commit yourself to making some sort of plan, a transition to eating real food only, the one thing you'll discover is you'll understand finally what actually being satisfied really means. And the pull to constantly be desiring food isn't there anymore like it used to be. I pray that every single person that listens to me eventually comes to that realization. What I talk about might seem far-fetched, but it doesn't make it wrong. It just means that you're applying yourself and you're saying, the me I am right now can't do what he's saying. That doesn't mean the me that you are right now can't eventually do it. But you gotta be willing. You gotta be willing to take whatever little steps you create along the process. I'm not telling you to get there tomorrow. I'm telling you to get there eventually. And in the process of getting there eventually, there's gonna take sacrifice. There's gonna take some painful realizations of things you really should live without. You have spent the last how many years of your life telling everyone, oh, I can't live without that, I can't live without this, and I can't live without that either. But in reality, those are the exact things you must live without in order to become the greatest version of you. In order to not only achieve your goal, but to keep it as well. You have to decide, are you willing to make those changes? I can't do it. It's all up to you. You are already capable. The question will always be, are you willing? I love each and every one of you. God bless you all.